कृष्णपादात् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हुकुम करोतु वाचालं पंकजं कायेन यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम् Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, today 4.18.7, Canto 4, Chapter 18, verse number 7. Apalitanadritacha Bhavadbhirlokapalakair Chori bhute talokeham Yagnarde grasamoshadai Apalitanadritacha Bhavadbhirlokapalakai Chori bhute talokeham Yagnarde grasamoshadi Apalitanadritacha Bhavadbhirlokapalakai Chori bhute talokeham Yagnarde grasamoshadi
Apalitanadritacha
Bhavadbhirlokapalakai Chori bhute talokeham Yagnarde grasamaushadi Apalitanadritacha Bhavadbhirlokapalakai Chori bhute talokeham Yagnarde grasamaushadi. Let's read word to word meaning. Apalita, without being taken care of. Anadrita, being neglected. Cha, also. Bhavadbihi, like your good self. Lokapalakai, by the governors or kings. Chori bhute, being beset by thieves. Ata, therefore. Loke, this world. Aham, I. Yagnarde, for the purpose of performing sacrifices. Agrasam, have hidden. Aushadi, all the herbs and grains. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear King, Not only are grains and herbs being used by non-devotees, but as far as I am concerned, I am not being properly maintained. Indeed, I am being neglected by kings who are not punishing these rascals who have turned into thieves by using grains for sense gratification. Consequently, I have hidden all these seeds which were meant for the performance of sacrifice. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That which happened during the time of Ritu Maharaj and his father King Vena is also happening at this present moment. A huge arrangement exists for the production of large scale industrial and agricultural products. But all these products are meant for sense gratification. Therefore, despite such productive capacities, there is scarcity because the world's population is full of thieves. The word chori bhute indicates that the population has turned to thievery. According to Vedic understanding, men are transformed into thieves when they plan economic development for sense gratification. It is also explained in Bhagavad Gita that if one eats food grains without offering them to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yajna, he is a thief and liable to be punished. According to spiritual communism, all properties on the surface of the globe belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The population has a right to use goods only after offering them to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the process of accepting prasad. Unless one eats prasad, he is certainly a thief. It is the duty of governors and kings to punish such thieves and maintain the world nicely. If this is not done, grains will no longer be produced and people will simply starve. Indeed, not only will people be obliged to eat less, but they will kill one another and eat each other's flesh. They are already killing animals or flesh for flesh. Excuse me. So when there will no longer be grains, vegetables and fruits, they will kill their own sons and fathers and eat their flesh for sustenance. Once again, translation. My dear king, not only are grains and herbs being used by non-devotees, but as far as I am concerned, I am not being properly maintained. Indeed, I am being neglected by kings who are not punishing these rascals who have turned into thieves by using grains for sense gratification. Consequently, I have hidden all these seeds which were meant for the performance of sacrifice. First of all, I'm not qualified to speak on the highest subject matter, Srimad Bhagavatam. So I humbly request all the blessings from all the devotees here sitting in front of me and also on the Zoom call, so that I can speak something which I can also implement in my life. So here Mother Earth is telling her concern. Her concern of how these grains are being used, and especially what happens and how we should use these grains, right? How we should use these grains is not simply for sense gratification. So they must be offered to the Supreme Lord first, and then we accept as prasad. This is extensively given from 3.9 Bhagavad Gita to 3.14. Krishna explained these principles. How these sacrifices are important for human form of life. When Krishna is created this world, he has created living entities and also this sacrifice. This sacrifice is also given to the humans so that they can be happily doing the activities here. At the same time, develop the love for Krishna, that liberation from this material world. Just go back to kingdom of Godhead. Even eating sense gratification is allowed only when we offer the grains to the Supreme Lord. That is how the Vedic culture is. Everything is a sacrifice. How the Brahmanas are performing different sacrifices, and how Kshatriyas, was hearing Kshatriyas, the Yajna Kund is the chest of the opponent. So they are like actually shooting the arrows, and that's how they will be performing the yajna. And also in Vedic culture, it is explained as the Vaishyas, the business community. How they do the yajna, they actually do the hala yajna. Hala yajna means the plowing the field. That is the hala yajna. How Mother Sita was born. If you remember, Dashrath Maharaj was told by the sages to perform the yajna to get the daughter, to get the child, and that is not a regular yajna, that is called hala yajna. That is what Dashrath Maharaj did. When he did the hala yajna, then the Bhumi Devi from the earth, Mother Sita appeared, and that's how Mother Sita came. So they also do the yajna. So all these things, everyone, Varnashrama Dharma, following the Varnashrama Dharma, one must be performing the yajna in whatever activities one is doing. Without yajna, it is everything a sinful activity, according to Bhagavad Gita. These principles are given. And what happens when a living entity is eating those which are not offered is called thieves. Because the principle is, Prabhupada is writing in the purport, everything is owned by the Supreme Lord. See, if everything is owned by the Supreme Lord, so if we are not offering to the Supreme Lord, then we are actually doing the theft from the Supreme Lord. So one should be offering all the things back to the Supreme Lord. So what happens, if somebody is doing this, then they are punished by the kings. Prabhupada is writing here, this is also happening at the present moment, that we produce so much of grains actually, and at the same time I always see like lot of organizations are sending food to different countries, African countries, that we are actually saving lot of people, like that they produce lot of grains, all the genetically modified foods. Why they came? They create a propaganda that there is not enough grains. There is not enough grains on this earth, so we need to produce mass production so that we can save the hunger of the world. If we just stop one day of wastage in America alone, wastage of food that happens here alone, then we can feed the whole world for a month, maybe more than a month. I don't have the statistics, but so it is not, earth is not giving the grains, earth is giving the grains, but we are not offering back to the Supreme Lord. And how earth is hidden all these seeds here, Mother Earth is hidden because they are not listening. Especially when we don't cooperate with the nature, material nature, the material nature withdraws her support for us living here. A few years back, how the COVID has come, and after COVID, I was hearing all the rivers are becoming better and better, because we pollute all the rivers in the name of industrialization. And then what happens? We can't even drink the water also. We need to introduce one more system to clean the water. First we pollute the water, and then we'll introduce one more thing to another system to clean the water. And that another system, they call reverse osmosis in majority of the places. And that reverse osmosis, I was hearing that will remove all the good things also from the body, minerals, and then they have to give again the supplements to the body of this human life, and they keep taking the medicines. So anything that we create, humans create, they cannot create like the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is creating everything. Supreme Lord is creating a sun, moon, light and heat and light is coming, air is coming. Can anybody create any of those things? They cannot create. But they can create from that, but they don't have respect for the Supreme Lord. They don't have gratitude for the Supreme Lord. We are just taking everything from the Supreme Lord for our own sense gratification. We see that if you go to any Costco or Sam's, you observe that they'll make samples. They'll make samples of meat or sometimes grains, but still they make samples and then they want you to eat there only. There is no concept of offering to the Supreme Lord. What happens when we do not offer, right? So I'll just go through the Bhagavad Gita slokas here. What Prabhupada is writing is because Prabhupada has actually kept everything from 3.9 to 3.14. If we just read all these verses with purports, what Prabhupada is writing, it is enough for anyone to convince that we should not eat anything without offering to the Supreme Lord. Yagnardat karmanonyatra lokoyam karvam. Krishna is telling directly. What happens? Lokoyam karma bandhanaha. If we are not offering as an egg, if we are not performing the yajna, then what happens? We are in the bondage. The following the varnashrama dharma is to perform our duties, and at the same time we also need to develop this concept of liberation, that going back to Krishna. Yesterday, His Grace Kishore Prabhu was nicely explaining that if our 9 to 5 work, that is the job that we are doing, if that is not creating any impetus for us to do any devotional service, that means it's not getting any taste for rendering the devotional service, then our 9 to 5 job is not actually doing anything good except creating the bondage for us. So Krishna has created this mechanism, just like how our children, they're attracted to so many unwanted things, for doing anything. And I can speak how in my experience, anything, you do need to practice this, then will I get 20 minutes laptop time? Will I get 30 minutes phone time? These are the questions I'm experiencing. So I'm just telling how the Supreme Lord is creating this environment, because living entities have desires, right? From there, that is the reason we are here. For all of these desires to be fulfilled, Krishna has created this platform for us. But at the same time, The sense gratification is also given, but it is in a controlled fashion. That you just need to do this yajna and then you accept it. But the ultimate goal of that is not to continue this sense gratificatory work. The ultimate goal is to go back to Krishna. That should be coming. Just like how kids, we want to perform, we want to make them perform certain activities, some devotional activities, or going to the school, for example. Going to the school, people will give, okay, you just go to the school, I will give you something, I'll buy you something. So, we will tell so many things like that. Like for us, the goal is not to make them, give them something always. No, the goal is to get them complete their education and become a nicer devotee, right? Or anything. So similarly here, the Supreme Lord is giving all this sense gratification, controlled sense gratification, so that at one day, at least, we will develop this sense gratification is nothing to do anything with my original identity. Going back to Krishna is the real thing. So they will develop one day. That is the hope that the Supreme Lord has created this mechanism. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. So here, Yajna means Lord Vishnu, or sacrificial performances. All sacrificial performances are also meant for the satisfaction of the Lord Vishnu. So it is, Prabhupada actually very extensively writes how one should be performing this yajna. Varnashrama charavata purushena parapuman Vishnu ragadate. So whatever we are doing our duties, we should be doing this as a sacrifice to Lord Vishnu. So because we have to do some activity, right? We cannot ignore the activities. We have to do the activity. At the same time, we should not be bound to that activity. So nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to the transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. So, same thing like Prabhupada is very extensively giving on this. And the next verse, this is really good. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." People try to do so many things. Everyone wants to be happy in this world, but there is no understanding. So who is the Yagnapati? Prabhupada writes here, Shriyam Patir, Yagnapati, Prajapatir, Diyam Patir, Lokapatir, Dharapati, Patir Gatis Chandaka Vrishni Satvatam, Prashiditam me Bhagavan Satam Pati. Who is the Yagnapati? Bhoktaram Yagnatapsam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Krishna is telling, I am supposed to be accepting all the sacrifices. I am the Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam. For all sacrifices, Krishna is the owner. One should understand this. Even in the further, even devatas have their own share in the yajnas, but ultimate beneficiary is actually the Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. They are the ultimate beneficiary. He is the ultimate beneficiary, so not devatas. The devatas also have their share. So when they are pleased, they will also give sufficiently all the things for the living entities to live here. But if we look at how Srila Prabhupada is giving this wonderful thing, how devotees perform yajnas, just following in the footsteps of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sankirtan Yajna. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given the Sankirtan Yajna. Because in this age of Kali, we cannot perform all other sacrifices. We are simply supposed to perform the Sankirtan Yajna. Ajanulambita bhujo kanakavadato Sankirtanaika pitaro kamalaya taksho. So they are the originator of this. The Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, they are the originators of this Sankirtan Yajna. Sankirtan Yajna. So he has given this Sankirtan Yajna. Sankirtana means Shravanam, Kirtanam, Archanam, Vandanam. This is how devotees perform this Sankirtan Yajna. Shravanam and Kirtanam. These are the two things, the most important things. Because of Shravanam and Kirtanam, one can realize the true identity of the self. Why sense gratification is coming is because of our false ego, of misidentification of this body as ourselves. Because when we identify the self, the body as the self, then what happens? Immediately sense gratification. How I can enjoy in this world, how I can do something for my momentarily happiness. So many things come just because we are identifying with the body, immediately we go into the sense gratification mode. Even when we are doing the Sankirtan Yajna, I just want to say, because just talking to myself, even the demons have got the knowledge that we are not these bodies. Hiranyakashipu is explaining very wonderfully when Hiranyaksha died. He is not this body. So much philosophy he is giving. Similarly, I am feeling that even I am talking so many things on this. Excuse me. What am I doing after this? Right? So, I know I am not this body, theoretically. But what is happening? How I should realize this? In the 3.9 actually, Prabhupada writes, see, when we do this sacrifice properly, it's a great art. Prabhupada writes that because it's a greatest art, it has to be under a bona fide spiritual master, guidance of the bona fide spiritual master. It's not easy because in the name of, even I am talking to myself, in the name of doing work or in the name of doing anything, purchasing, creating different things, using the resources, it is very easy to carry away by our own mind and senses demands. That's why we always have to hear from the bona fide spiritual master to how to perform this work as a sacrifice. Because otherwise, if we cannot hear from the spiritual master, then we create our own concoctions with our own mind and senses. Because in rendering service also, as well as Saladhar Maharaj says, three things. Disciple means disciple will get the share of the father, the spiritual master, when he is disciplined. When he is disciplined, he will get the share of his father. I don't know how many of you got the share of your fathers. I did not get any, but some of you may get the share. How? By simply following him nicely, you will get the share. Like that, when we follow the spiritual master, then you get the blessings from the spiritual master to perform this activity. Because when we are doing the service, three things. We have to completely devoid of doership. When we completely remove the doership mentality in rendering the services, and we have to remove the controllership. I am the controller of this particular service. I should dictate the terms. I should tell what to do. And also independent. We should avoid independence in rendering the services. So when these three things are taken care, doership, controllership, and independence. If these three things are not there in rendering the services, in rendering the work, that whatever we are trying to do, then we can actually follow the footsteps of what Lord Krishna is telling here. Otherwise, it's going to simply create the bondage. There is no other way. Because even when we are rendering service, how we can continue this consciousness? Satatam kirtayantoma. Satatam kirtayantoma means 24/7. Yesterday Prabhuji was telling that. How are we breathing 1 minute, 2 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 24 hours we are breathing, right? When we are breathing 24 hours, one should always remember the Supreme Lord. His Grace Amarendra Prabhu was telling me when I was driving him, he was telling like we carry so many things and we are completely carried away with our activities. How we can remember? He was telling that the holy name should continue. Holy name should continue on the tongue. You don't need to explicitly say, but at least it should continue on the tongue. The last days of Srila Prabhupada, he was not taking anything and he was just not even opening his mouth. And all the disciples, were asking other seniors, what is happening? Prabhupada is not even chanting. So they're all like saying like that. But they told the person told you bring the Charanamrit. And then he brought the Charanamrit. And then you give it to Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada opened his mouth for Charanamrit. When he opened his mouth for Charanamrit, what is happening is Prabhupada is chanting on the tongue. Right? He's continuing chanting inside his mouth. So then he was just to show that the disciples that he's already chanting. You don't need to worry about Srila Prabhupada. He's already pure devotee. Right? So this chanting, this consciousness should continue. One should be obsessed with hearing. I was very inspired by our Shyamkishore Prabhu. Very obsessed with hearing. There's nothing that goes on, keeps on something or other, just to keep on hearing. Because that can save. Because without hearing, the Sankirtan Yajna for devotees is hearing. First thing is hearing. Continue hearing. Without hearing, there is nothing that we can do. The chanting of the holy names should continue. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because if we are not doing this, then we cannot understand how we can get away from this bondage. Because we should continue. How do we know that we are performing yajna? How do we know that? Acting on the soul platform. When we act on the soul platform, then we know we are performing yajna, Sankirtan yajna. Because aiming to realize the spiritual identity, one should have this aim to realize the soul, not performing tasks which increase our bodily identity. We should reduce the necessities of the body. Then only we can go to the spiritual identity. We are spiritual, but because when we are adding so many things for the bodily necessities, then what is happening? We are covering the spiritual identity more and more, because we don't we do in the name of service, we try to do so many things. One thing I always remember this, how one should be remembering, doing the activities, right? Praner artir diyevach, right? Praner artir. One should give up everything for Supreme Lord. If you cannot give up, then give your resources. One example Prabhupada says that, his Acharya Prabhu was also sharing that. Prabhupada says like, give 50% to Krishna. When Prabhupada said like that, Prabhupada, how can we give 50% to Krishna? When you give 50% to Krishna, then you will live with minimal things in the life. Then once you give 50% to Krishna, then you have only 50%. So then you will manage it properly. And then Krishna also manages you properly. One example that Acharya Prabhu was sharing about one devotee, how he is rendering the business with always 50% giving to Krishna, continuously. And he never had any problem. Other people have some problem in their businesses. They are always coming to Prabhupada and we are struggling here. And then Prabhupada is quoting this person, come here, how are you doing? I am doing good, Prabhupada. Why? Because he is giving 50% to Krishna. Then he is happily living. So, anything, I'm not saying only the resources, give our intelligence to Krishna. So that way, whatever we can, body, mind and words. By body we perform coming to the temple, rendering services with our body, with our mind, chant the holy name, and then meditate on the Supreme Lord. Remember, smaranam. Always think about how we can do the services nicely, or how we can understand the Supreme Lord, meditate on the Supreme Lord, and words, speak about the Supreme Lord, chant the Supreme Lord, glorify the Supreme Lord. All these things these are all sacrifices, yajna. By our body, mind and words, we need to perform yajna. Devotees will perform yajna like this. Then we can be liberated from this. Otherwise, we are completely bound in this world. It's already 9:10. I'm sorry for going over. Please forgive me if I have spoken anything wrong or inappropriately. Are there any questions from June? There are no questions, then I would like to end here.
I have one, I was just thinking one thing I don't know. Just when you said 50%, that thought came to it. That what if we are earning $2 billion and 50% is 1 billion? We will have 1 billion. So we should keep full 1 billion with us and enjoy with 1 billion, or we should give more. Because our revenue will not be 1 billion for sure.
So the question came here from His Grace Rohini Nandan Prabhu.
Just thought came.
So the thought came that what happens if we earn $1 billion, $2 billion, and give $1 billion to Krishna, And what will happen with another 1 billion, right? Can we use that for our sense gratification? So
That is too much.
yeah, that is too much for our consciousness. But a person who is earning $2 billion, they have their own plans. That's what I was telling. This is, yesterday I think I was talking, a season of bonus season. February, March, a lot of devotees are and outsiders. Most of the people will get bonuses from their work. So I was telling that, how we can keep some portion of the bonuses for the Supreme Lord. I should not speak on the fundraising, but if we all give 10% of our earning, by next year we will have our temple expansion project completed.
Wow.
I'm just throwing it out some number, 10%. So it's not that remaining whatever money we have remaining we'll use for other things. It's basically 50% is where we can manage ourselves. If that 50% is too much for somebody, then that can create bondage again. The ultimately, whatever one have with minimal necessities, if we are able to manage, then it is okay. Because we try to be like that, right? iPhones, it's not working, then change it. The new iPhone, they are giving for free, right? So they'll hook you for 3 years and then they'll give a new phone, right? I'm doing it, so I'm just telling it. It's not whether try to manage. After 2 years, they try to do something or other that it will not work. They'll update your software so that it will stop working also. So that's how they earn. The whole economy is based on consumerism. How much you consume, that's how great the economy is. America is successful because we use all the earth resources like left and right. Because you consume, if somebody stops consuming it, they have a concern. The whole economy will go down. Because all this paper money is based on consumerism. Unfortunately, India is also trying to achieve to that level, third economy or second economy, whatever it is, right? If we start doing that, then what happens is unnecessarily we are creating bondage, unnecessarily we are doing it. One nice statement I heard from Amarendra Prabhu was like, when you go for shopping, he was explaining that one should take a sankalpa. Why you are going to shopping? Why you are going to shopping? I am going to get something for the Supreme Lord. That is the only purpose of going to shopping. And after finishing the shopping, again you take the sankalpa that okay, I am successfully, while going also, while chant and do everything. But after coming from shopping, again you take the sankalpa that I have successfully purchased something for you, my Supreme Lord. So one should have this consciousness always. If we don't have this consciousness, then I'm talking to myself, completely engaged in the sense gratificatory work. So, see, we have not become pure devotees, but here, based on even we have sense gratification. That is allowed only in this way. For us is to offer it to the Supreme Lord. We are talking only karma arpada here. Krishna, second chapter, Krishna is telling, give up the fruits. In the third chapter, what Krishna is telling, not just give up the fruits, but offer it to Krishna. That is only the third chapter offering it to Krishna. And then we have to karma tyag, and then other things what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's and Ramananda Rai's discussions that are happening. So there are higher things are there. We are still stuck in the karma arpan itself. We have difficulty. We cannot sacrifice our work.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So, okay. I'd like to end here if there are no other questions from online. Hare Krishna. Yantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Nandaniketan Prabhu ki jai.